Well, hello again, folks, and welcome to the Speed Street Podcast. My name is Connor Daly. I currently am an IndyCar fan, big time fan. There was a lot that was lost in the shuffle last week as some internet announcements came out. Technically, I am a reserve driver for the Juncos Hollinger, or a development driver, I guess was the wording in the press release. Now, again, no one reads the press release, so the announcement went out. Not one person read the press release, so we had to put out some statements, and thankfully we talked about it in the episode. And once again, apologize that the episode came out late. That announcement that you saw last week was supposed to go out on a Tuesday. Was supposed to go out on maybe even a Wednesday. But things and details and all kinds of businessy type things happen, and it took a little bit longer to get that confirmed. So that's why we had to release the episode late, but it is out there. And honestly, it's a shame that it did release when it did, because the 200th episode was supposed to be special. The announcement having to be delayed really made our 200th episode kind of flop. So maybe not flop, but I wish I could have got it out there as a full preview to the weekends. Having it come out on a Friday while a ton of race fans are already at the track is a tough one. So feel free to go back and listen to it. There's a lot that still is relevant. Marcus Armstrong's interview is still entirely relevant. He was fantastic to talk to. So I can't wait to talk about this race. I think as a race fan, there's plenty we can get to. We're going to obviously talk to Alex Palou, which we have talked to many times. Alex has been on the show several times. This is it. If he wins race 2, nope. We know we're not going to have him on. So consider this your only time to get to talk to Alex Palou unless he wins the Indy 500 again. And even if he does that, I'm not going to interview him. I don't think I think we're gonna ban Alex Palou from being on this show in hopes that someone can beat him. But he is the best right now. He is doing the best. Him and that team. It is a team effort. This is not a one-person show. That whole team, Barry Wanzer, all those guys, the crew members, those guys and girls are the absolute pinnacle of what IndyCar racing success looks like. And it's just, it should be we're hanging banners for them already. Hall of Fame, all of them. Put them in there. Great efforts. So a lot to talk about. But Bobby, I want to get your initial reaction on the race, what you thought of it overall, and then we'll go into the results. We'll read some results. We'll talk about some of the incidents, specifically one that happened very early on. We have to discuss that a little bit. But yeah, what did you think of the race, opening round?
I thought it was great. As a newly renewed, I guess, IndyCar fan, it kind of scratched all the itches that you would want from IndyCar. The cars looked great on track. There were, early on, I thought there was a lot of good battling, and then the strategy came into play. So you had strategy, you had battling. Alex kind of walked away at the end there. There was still a lot of really awesome action, and it was a compelling finish. Like, we already have a lot of really cool storylines to get into, and we're only at race 1. So it was a pretty awesome way to kick off the 2026 season. Absolutely,
I agree. So let's go through the results right out the gate, and we'll kind of go through a little bit of what happened leading up to there. There were a lot of accidents all throughout the weekend, and none from the rookies, none from the folks that, you would maybe expect that from. So a lot to talk about. And let's start out by going through the results. So Alex Palou, obviously. Scott McLaughlin, incredible pole lap. Once again, starting P1, he did everything he needed to do. But gosh, Alex Palou still got him. Christian Lundgaard, honestly, a great drive. Christian Lundgaard, the top McLaren driver, I think that's going to be a really fun battle to watch all year long. Christian Lundgaard, Kyle Kirkwood, and Christian Lundgaard's teammate, Pato O'Ward, 5th. Just a solid day for Pato. Didn't quite have the speed when he needed it. Christian Lundgaard was able to kind of take advantage of the strategy switch up, of a little bit of car shuffling kind of as the pit stops went down. And that was awesome. Marcus Ericsson had a really strong weekend overall. Marcus Ericsson needed that. He wanted to show back up. Guess what, everyone? Marcus Ericsson didn't forget how to drive. Racing is hard. If you don't have everything clicking, if you don't have maybe all the right people that are exactly for you or just in general agreeing with what you're saying or even understanding what you're saying at the highest level, sometimes things don't work as well. So whatever Marcus has going right now is a really good recipe for success, it seems. Joseph Newgarden was 7th. Incredible drive from him, honestly. He came all the way from the back. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Romain Grosjean, P8, really strong weekend from the Dale Coyne Racing team. Obviously, Rinus VeeKay, 9th, the first on the 3-stop strategy. They made that gamble work really well. Someone always does. Someone is always first of the 3-stoppers. They were the ones. Dennis Hauger was 10th. Marcus Armstrong being 11th. He was involved in quite a bit of shuffling, and he had actually come out on the podium after that first stop. But boy, did he struggle a little bit on those cold tires. And again, a great display of racing between him and Scott McLaughlin. That should be exemplary. If that was a certain other 2 drivers, a couple other drivers, they would have ended up in the wall. But they have respect for each other, so that was good. Felix Rosenquist right behind his teammate there, P12. David Malukas, 13th. We're going to talk about his drive. Louis Foster, 14th. He could kind of cycle. He even had 2 laps led, Louis Foster, at one point. But again, fades in the race. So something had happened there. Kevin Simpson, 15th. Alex Rossi, really kind of a numb weekend for those guys. 4 pit stops for Alex Rossi. Not sure what the goal was there. Kyle Collette, 17th. Honestly, can't be too upset with that. Got all the laps in. I saw him before the race, and I said, dude, just get all the laps in. Get all the laps in, learn, and don't put it in the fence. Graham Rahal was 18th. I actually don't know what happened to Graham Rahal there. He was running a little bit further up, but struggled. Christian Rasmussen was 19th. Him and Kevin Simpson had it coming together. And boy, are we going to discuss that one too. Nolan Siegel, 20th. That'll be something people want to talk about a long time. Stingray Robb, 21st. We're going to talk about that one. Will Power, 22nd. Scott Dixon, 23rd. Santino Ferrucci and poor Mick Schumacher, first race, dead last. Poor guy ended up basically wrong place, wrong time, just a victim. But the whole weekend, let's talk about the weekend in general. Several accidents, and accidents from people that were surprising. You had Joseph Newgarden off track in practice 1. You had Scott Dixon with a crash. When I saw the Scott Dixon crash, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. And then Will Power crashing in practice 2 was really surprising. And then Rasmussen with a big shunt, but he got really lucky. So the interesting thing about these Indy cars, they're pretty tough. Rasmussen hit at the perfect angle. I talked to his engineer, who was my engineer at ECR, afterwards, and I was like, did you guys do any damage to the suspension? 0. So it was a big impact, but those nose cones are built so well, and they're built well to take an impact, even, when they have to. All it was a nose cone, essentially, I think. Now, I obviously don't know the details, but pretty impressive that they got away with that. And, people were under pressure, right? Drivers were under pressure. Everything was close. The times were super close as usual. But when we got into qualifying, the biggest surprise of the whole field, well, there were 2. Dale Coyne Racing. Both cars, Fast 6, incredible. Joseph Newgarden at the back. Alex Rossi at the back. You had Marcus Ericsson up front. It was a fascinating session, if I'm honest. And I think we're going to see that all year. I think you're going to see, there were some people that were like, oh, we just didn't get the tires switched on. Getting the tires switched on and in the window is super important. I loved it because it was a mixed up grid, other than Scott McLaughlin, right? Okay, you know what? He's a consistent pole sitter there. But going into the race, we had so many things we could follow. I mean, so many storylines. Bobby, what was the biggest surprise for you out of qualifying, did you think? Was it the Dale Coyne Racing team? Because for me, that was, impressive. And I got a lot of comments on the internet on some of our posts that were like, wow, for Dale Coyne equipment, that's great. And I'm like, hang on a second, folks. Hang on a second. That cannot be used anymore, honestly. That stuff, there are some incredibly smart people there that need to be respected. And, they had some really fantastic races last year. They added people to that team. This sport that we love so much is about the people and the people doing the job, everyone together, working together, and they have some incredibly smart people. So they should be up there, and they're doing a great job. Now, they do have less people, I would say, than some other teams, certainly, and are spending less money than some other teams. But give that team and those smart people credit for what they've done. But, Bobby, yeah, what did you think was the biggest surprise?
I would have to agree about the coin. I know Roman is a gasser. He's fast, but I think DCR, as you said, like has a reputation for kind of being like underdog team. So you wouldn't expect new driver, new team to click that quickly and to come out in the Fast Six at the first race. And same with Hauger. Like Hauger has a tremendous amount of pressure on him being the Indy Next champion. Like people are always looking at you to be big. And a lot of times that can be, look at newer guys, Louis Foster, people like that. Like they kind of struggle with that at times, but they came out swinging, but you can tell their investments are already turning over. You're right. I guess you would expect that with the amount of investments they've been making for the team, but it was still really cool to see it actually happen on track,
Absolutely, yeah. Dennis Hauger, fantastic. And he was in my fantasy picks for the IndyCar Fantasy League that I'm doing videos for IndyCar now for. So I felt good about that one. But yeah, just to... they faded a little bit in the race, which is okay. But again, to have both cars in the top 10, super impressive. So also, I want to say real quick about the weekend, great vibes all weekend long. The fans were incredible. I spotted for the truck race for Chandler Smith. So I was spotting up for him in the Turn 11 grandstand. Met some fantastic people up. They let me sit in the top row with them, so I had a great view to spot for Chandler all race long, which we were leading for a while. I got a text in the middle of the race saying, like, I think if you guys win, you got to go to victory lane. And I was like, well, I got to go do TV for the Indy Next qualifying. So we had a discussion about that for a little bit. So that was really cool to work with those guys and just meet some fantastic IndyCar fans. And what was awesome to see? Just people taking in motorsport. They might have been there for the IndyCar race, but they took in the NASCAR truck race. And that's what motorsport, I believe, we need more of. And there might have been NASCAR fans that were there that got to see IndyCar qualifying right afterwards. You know what I mean? Why is the internet not more accepting of that? That's still one of the biggest questions I've ever seen. So very happy to have met some incredible people up there who enjoyed the truck race. I enjoyed the truck race a lot. I thought it was fun to see those trucks race there. The Hinch and Dario thing was hilarious. When Dario drove in to Hinch, basically like a battering ram to knock him out of the way, that was hysterical. Hinch had he had an issue braking right in front of me in 11. I was like, oh no! But then they had a great end of the race. Just a lot of cool stories to follow. Colin Brown had a great race, finishing in the top 10. The whole thing was I thought just a nice addition to a Saturday. You know what I mean? And then we got to go right into IndyCar qualifying. So the truck race, I will say, probably a little too long. It felt like an eternity. I felt like I was up there for 19 hours. But that would be my only thing. What did you think of the truck race?
I was really weary of it when I heard it announced because I've seen that series struggle historically going to tracks for the first time. And I know from watching the IndyCar races the last couple of years how challenging St. Pete can be if you have no lap times there. But I thought, given that, they put on a really compelling show. They did a great job of getting through it. There weren't any very embarrassing moments, for
now,
the
there
series.
were a lot of damaged trucks, I will say.
Sure.
Lots of damage, but
there weren't the bad
nothing
looks,
too crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree with you. And you could tell, through the TV, you could tell that the vibe was awesome at St. Pete. I think your purest race fans were probably excited for that, and I'm excited that we get to run it back at Phoenix this weekend. That's awesome. Unified front. I don't mean to get on a soapbox right now, but as somebody, I don't work in the racing industry. I get the pleasure of doing these podcasts with you and other people, and I get to talk about racing. I'm a racing fan, but I don't work in the racing industry. I work outside of it. I can see racing from a 10,000 foot view. I can see it outside of it. And unless things change, it continues to shrink. The strongest thing we can have is a unified front. So if you're sitting here with your arms crossed because you're a NASCAR fan and you don't care about IndyCar or vice versa, I hate to break it to you, but like you need to get on this train. The more racing is unified, the better it is for the whole sport, the better it is for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it's shrinking, but I think, I mean, NASCAR, you know, they've obviously had a couple races where the things are not quite as good as the year before. IndyCar is kind of on the up and up, but I completely agree. I mean, the fact that we're doing this weekend in Phoenix, I think is awesome. Like, I'm already signed. I'm doing an autograph session with Ty Gibbs. We're doing one together because obviously I'm with AMPM and ARCO, and we're going to do an appearance together because they have a car in the race. We at JHR have a car in the race, and I'm obviously an ambassador for AMPM and ARCO, and I'm doing a lot with them in the future as well. So that stuff is cool for race fans. I think it's great for the weekend. So many drivers are going to be there, you know, this weekend in Phoenix. And the truck race I thought was awesome. Now, it was chaotic. Like, there's chaos in pit lane. We had, after IndyCar second practice, they had to get all their pit equipment out, and then all the NASCAR truck stuff was going in. But everyone did it. And look, is it more work? Yeah, it was for sure for the IndyCar teams, and they probably didn't like that. But it was cool for the fans. And every day it seemed like it was packed. And I just think it's such a great, just a great display of a diverse motor racing campaign. And so I'm fully in alignment with that. I completely agree. And we're going to get to Phoenix picks and preview as well, obviously. But let's talk about the race first. I think there's a few key moments that we should talk about. You know, right out the gate, there was a turn 4 lap 1 accident that Stingray Robb caused, obviously. And you know, I after being teammates with Stingray, he's such a great person. Like, he's a really nice guy, and I have nothing bad to say about him. And people do make mistakes, right? This could be someone else in Phoenix, right? There could be someone else doing the same thing in Phoenix. But just a really tough way to start. You know, turn 4 is very inviting to go down the inside. But when you're that far back in the pack, you do lose a lot of that aero capability of the car. You know, he had explained that his brakes weren't warm enough, and that was evident by the way the thing basically just didn't stop. And, you know, he brought 2 people with him, which is a shame for those guys, right? Even, you know, Santino and Mick, you know, those guys were innocent. I saw Santino, you know, walking through the pit lane afterwards. I was like, dang, man, like, I was like, you know, obviously we know my feelings about Santino, but it's like, hey, that sucks, brother. Like, that's a brutal, you hate to see any driver's race ended like that. But, you know, this sport, and it's such a difficult environment, and it is challenging, but that stuff is, you know, people judge extra hard for that stuff. And I'm gonna, you know, Stingray's, he's been working hard on the off season. I know that. Definitely been working hard. So we'll see what happens in Phoenix. But that was just such a difficult, and he got a big penalty for it. I can't remember the last time I saw a stop and hold for 30 seconds for that. I mean, the stewards were handing it out like, hey, that is something you cannot do. And that's it. You know, we're going to leave it at that. You know, it was a shame for the team, for the guys on that car. Obviously, they continue to race, but yeah, just tough. And again, this is nothing against Stingray at all, because I have a lot of respect for him as a person. But that was tough to see for the beginning of the race. Now, after that, we're going to leave it at that, because that's a tough one. Obviously, I'm affiliated with that team. You know, I got to drive for that team, and you know what? On the neutral site, my brain right now, you know, that could happen again, and it could be someone else, and the same people that are giving a bunch of, you know, saying a lot of things about Stingray probably should say the same thing about someone else if that happens later in the year, because again, either way, no matter who it is, that's you know, that's a tough thing to do. So, that's the wrong thing to do, essentially, is to crash into people. But it can happen to anyone. So after that, you had people immediately take that as a pit stop, right? They're like, all right, we're going to get off the reds. We're going to do whatever. And again, this race, there was a situation where you had to run 2 sets of the reds, right? That they've made it a rule to kind of spice up the strategy a little bit. And what I enjoyed about that is that it did seem like some people struggled with the reds and making them last, and tire deg was a thing. But let me tell you exactly what happened on stint 1. And I left after the first pit stop because Alex Palou took the lead, and I was like, the race is over. Because I left because I went to my hotel to get ready to go to the airport, so I watched the race, but I didn't need to be at the track anymore because I knew what was going to happen. Alex Palou did not see the need to pass either Marcus or Scott McLaughlin, and we're going to talk to him about this a little bit. He saved fuel, which again, his car was fast, obviously. We could see that. And Scott McLaughlin probably also saving fuel. Marcus Ericsson probably also. Everyone's saving fuel, but the third car in line is always going to save the most fuel. So he knew what he needed to do. He was also on the right tire at the right time. They chose to start on the right tire. And when Scott pitted and when Marcus pitted and when Alex continued to go, that's when you go. And he was on overtake. He was burning a lap or two. I think it was like maybe 2 laps that he needed to do. And when Scott came out of the pits and when Marcus came out of the pits, there was a little kerfuffle going on. There was a little bit of some traffic and some defending. Scott and Kyle Kirkwood, they're all kinds. That might have been later in the race, but there was all kinds of stuff that just played out perfectly for Alex Palou. And when he came out of the pits, he was in the lead by a mile. And guess who executed the perfect pit stop? That's the 10 team. So all of that stuff, it seems like it's easy for them, but they are just the ones that are executing at the highest level. And if anything, I'm starting to think Alex Palou purposely isn't qualifying on pole in some of these places because he's able to look at what everyone else is doing around them. The team is able to play the exact perfect strategy. And if he's running third and can come out first and never see anyone again, who cares about qualifying on pole? You know what I mean? So, again, you want to start on pole. But for me, it was like that couldn't have been an easier thing for him. So I left. I started immediately walking. But I thought the battle for the podium spot the rest of the day was fantastic. I mean, you had cars running into each other. You had Kirkwood on a tear. Kirkwood was having a great race. He had some great overtakes. You had the Marcus Ericsson situation, and Marcus Armstrong. I do believe that Marcus Ericsson, again, it was very on the limit and there was no penalty given there. But the blocking rule is, you can't block in reaction to, and it did seem like there were multiple moves there. I think Armstrong has a reason to be upset. Now, Marcus Armstrong did get to the inside, but the inside of that brake zone on that airstrip, there is no grip there. That is a very low grip surface. He was completely out of control as soon as he hit the brakes. That's why you saw, even at the beginning of the Indy Next race, the outside braking on the outside, the guy who braked on the outside was able to take the lead easily because the rubber is all on the outside on the normal racing line, and braking on the inside is quite difficult. So that was definitely a potentially questionable interaction there, and I'm curious to see if there's any chatter about that in the future. But also David Malukas. So when David Malukas had a big lockup trying to either not run into someone or he made a move, but he knew it was too late. When you flat spot these tires, the vibration is pretty substantial. And so what happened, this is not a Firestone thing. Firestone is not at fault for this at all. He locked that front tire all the way to the apex and past the apex of turn 1, and it gave up. And the fact that he was a lap down, someone got really angry at me on Facebook because that's where most angry people are. And I am posting on Facebook a lot more because that's a great platform that actually pays money. But a lot of angry folks out there. He thought the person who finishes 13th doesn't matter at all. Why would you ever say that was a good drive? I'm like, I don't think you guys realize how difficult IndyCar racing is. And if you're going to go from a lap down in 23rd to finish 13th with only like one yellow in there, pretty impressive drive from David Malukas, honestly. And guess what happens? Points championships are a thing. So I don't know what you mean by 13th not mattering. I just thought it was a very impressive drive through some cars that were still pretty fast and not a ton of attrition. I thought he was very fast, but again, he made a mistake, locked up the tire, caused his race to be completely different. And even when he went right back out, like he set fastest lap of the race pretty early, not overall, but you could tell he was hauling once he got out and clear track. And then Joseph Newgarden kind of you didn't really see much of him. And again, maybe when I look back on the broadcast, I think there's maybe a little bit more that we could have seen for those guys. Just, again, checking it out, seeing where they were making the moves, how they were doing it. Again, a lot of this stuff happens during the strategy, right? A lot of this stuff happens during the pit stops, the over-unders, all that stuff, overcut, undercut. But those were two drivers that I thought had really good days. Kyle Kirkwood had a really good day. I think Kyle Kirkwood was super strong. It was kind of wild to see Marcus Ericsson struggle on those reds too, right? When you see someone struggling to defend for their lives on red tires and seeing tire deg, that creates great racing. And I really enjoyed that. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was the drives through the field. You kind of got both looks of it. Like, you could see how hard those guys were racing to try to catch Palou and how difficult it was to even make up a second. Like, at the end when Kirkwood was trying to catch Palou, it took him like several laps just to cut it from like a 6-second lead to a 5-second lead. But then when you look at those guys driving from the back, it's really impressive. And I agree. I wish it was shown on TV more, because it would have been cool to see how, Joseph and Malukas and Kirkwood made up those huge deficits, Well,
it was funny because Joseph said it was boring, right? So you know what that meant? Those guys and how much strategy comes into play. They pitted at the right time. They were saving fuel at the right, perfect areas. And sometimes you can have those days where you're not actually even doing much overtaking, but you nailed the strategy. And I'm actually curious. I don't know how they can kind of lock in on that a little bit more, but, I did notice that they had a lot of graphics like, laps since last pitted. They had all these, their driver's eye cameras, awesome. Shout out Fox, amazing. Just those are fantastic. Those are terrific. We need more of that. We just need more onboard cameras in general for all the cars. I think that'd be awesome. But, this race has always been a strategic race. And I think last year's race actually was way more boring than this race. I thought this race, after watching it back, I think the way that the red tires were degrading and the way people used them, from second on back, excluding Palou, I think it was for a street race not bad. And we saw several, the Marcus Armstrong defending against McLaughlin into turn 11 was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy, super close. We almost had the exact same situation between McLaughlin and Grosjean when both of them ended up in the tires into turn 4. Literally the exact same thing almost happened between Kirkwood and McLaughlin, but they just made slight contact. I mean, you had a lot of light contact here and there, just a little bit of rubbing his racing moments. And I really don't think you can ask for a ton more. Now, we would have loved to have seen a better battle for the lead. But man, that's going to happen. There is going to be someone who wins the race. And sometimes they're going to win it by a lot. You know what I mean? I just, especially in the Alex Palou era. Now, we'll see what happens this weekend. But yeah, I enjoyed the race. I think there's one incident as well that we should talk about, probably the Kevin Simpson, Christian Rasmussen move. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on that one because, I think as Rasmussen says, he's never going to lift, which again, he shouldn't have in this case anyway. Kiffin was overly aggressive and did stick it in there. But again, if that's the way, if the shoe's on the other foot, if Rasmussen did that to Kiffin, he said he probably would have just been like, yeah, no, that's how racing is. So I think we have to, as a series, I think that should have been probably a penalty. And I'm taking Rasmussen's side on this one. Hey, he should not have been spun out there. But if you're asking for that, Like, and if you're going to be like doing that, then you got to be willing to take it as well. So I don't like that. I don't think that should be acceptable, because if you're just going to be able to turn into a corner, get to their left rear and just spin them out, I don't see how you don't penalize for that. You know what I mean? I don't get it. That's just wrecking someone. So again, I'm not a steward. I'm not even in the race right now. So I just have an opinion as an outsider that, hey, I saw several other folks go side by side through some corners and just have a little bit of contact. This was a straight up fender blasting. You know, you go in there, smack, one car comes out, one car doesn't. You know what I mean? So again, I'm not a fan of that type of racing, but it's not up to me to make those decisions. What did you think about that one?
Yeah, I guess, it's nice to not have the stewards get overly involved in a race. But I thought, that and I watching that Ericsson Armstrong situation in real time. I mean, I even posted it on Twitter. I just felt like that was like an egregious block, and it did affect Marcus Armstrong like a lot. Like, he fell out of the top 10, I'm pretty sure, and then never totally recovered after that. So I don't know. I mean, and then I felt like last year there were more calls by the stewards, like in those situations, So the Stingray Rob one, obviously, like you have to kind of set precedent at the beginning of the race, and I thought that was good.
That's very obvious.
Totally, yeah. But these ones, I don't know. I mean, I could go either way on it, but I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, look, if one car leaves and one car doesn't, and it's a pretty obvious. I mean, there was room there, yeah, but as we've seen, at times, for the most part, it's the car who is, if you're the one instigating the contact, right? Probably not great. So again, I personally would have liked to have seen a penalty there, and that would have been, I would say, fair, but we have seen many times before where penalties are not handed out, and I've been involved in those types of things. So, yeah, I thought that was a questionable one, but yeah, overall, Alex Palou dominance. And when I explain that perfect situation of the first stint, you got to respect it. And there's a lot of people who are saying, I saw a lot of internet comments of like, oh, he's, this is just getting boring. This is getting old. This is like. I don't think people are realizing how good this group of people is. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're not moving people. I mean, they've got the right crew. They've got the right engineers. They've got everyone there who are doing the most to be as successful as possible. So I think it is going to take something monumental to beat him. And again, he's not the overall fastest guy. He wasn't on pole, right? But when it truly matters, when the most points are paid, when the most money is paid out, Alex Palou is the one who is there. And I can't wait to talk to him. I got a lot of fan questions for him as well, that a lot of them are the same. But yeah, what a weekend overall. Really cool to see all the fans. Once again, a lot of great support there. A lot of interesting interactions. Saw Callum Ilott, caught up with Callum Ilott a little bit there. The two of us unemployed, sitting there just hanging out. Saw Devlin DiFrancesco there too. Saw, several drivers that are obviously we're all, hoping to be in race cars, but just good to see the amount of people. Now, one thing I did notice, Pato O'Ward now has a security guard, which is awesome. I did notice that Pato O'Ward now has personal security because he is a superstar. Love that. I think that's fantastic for the IndyCar Racing Series. I think that's awesome. The fact that we got a guy who is running from place to place with a security team, fantastic. And I hope we have more drivers that need that type of attention in the future. I think that's just wild, but love to see it. Anything else, Bobby, before we kind of preview, get to a little Phoenix preview potentially? Anything else you think worth talking about? I mean, Scott Dixon's currently out of the leader circle. Wild.
Yeah.
Scott Dixon, obviously, with his wheel falling off, that was crazy. Sad to see for those guys, but yeah, when you look at the points, you're like, oh man, Scott Dixon, tough start for his season. Obviously, those guys are fast, though. They're going to get right back into it. But yeah. Oh, Will Power. I really wanted to talk about Will Power. That was on my notes. I think what happened to Will Power this weekend and what was going on with Will Power this weekend, and again, maybe folks will kind of understand a little bit more about the series by kind of what I'm trying to say here. A lot of folks on the outside say, oh, IndyCar is a spec series. Everything is the same. And actually, I saw a video on the internet of Christian Rasmussen saying that to someone, like a big influencer. And I was like, dude, that's not true. Like, that's not, don't explain it to people like that. Like, everyone does not have the same stuff. What Will Power was going through all weekend was, I think, the perfect example of why these teams are different and how different they can be. I mean, Will Power was visibly frustrated that the car was not allowing him to do what he was doing. The braking was really difficult. You're like, oh, I thought everyone had the same brakes. Guess what? There's a lot you can do in the braking system to make them different. You can do so many different things, master cylinder wise, brake migration wise, all kinds of things to adjust that. And there's many different philosophies behind that and many different ways to run the car. And they were not slow, but when he's been in a system for so many years and then you go to a completely different system, it is not plug and play. And I still think Will Power is going to do well in the championship. Maybe I don't think he's going to win the championship now, but it was actually very, I think, cool to see. Now, again, I think Will Power is going to be fine. Completely do. But it was the perfect demonstration of why each team is so different and why IndyCar is still, yes, okay, there's a lot of things that are similar. The chassis, wings, all that stuff. Yes, of course. But it's absolutely the most absurd thing in the world to say that everyone's got the same stuff. It's just not true. And you go from Will Power, who's won so many races, pole positions, championships, Indy 500s, and this guy was struggling. And visibly just like, man, this car will not do what I want to do. Guess what? Welcome to the fact that IndyCar is hard, and all the top teams have, some differences between them. Philosophies, dampers, brakes, everything. So I just want to push that through to the race fans that are out there that think that everything's the same and like, Connor Daly sucks because he hasn't done this. It's like, let me tell you how different these teams are, folks. And, I've not obviously been in the Penske or the Ganassi realm, but, I got to drive for Andretti for 2 races, and it was wildly different than anything that I had seen before, in a good way, right? And so I think that stuff, and what also is so cool to see with what Dale Coyne Racing is doing, what they have is Michael Cannon, Mike Cicerelli. They have Bill Pappas now, who basically was the head of IndyCar's tech department, but he was also multi-time race-winning engineer in IndyCar. Like, you put the right brains together with the right drivers and everything, and Will Power is going to get there. He's going to be fine. But it was the perfect example to show you how difficult this sport is and how different these teams can be. So I wanted to make sure people knew that, and just weekend to weekend, you got to fight the good fight to get the best out of your program. So, was that surprising to you, Bobby?
No, I wasn't. I think Will is so good that if he would, that it's within the realm of possibility that he could have went out and won this race. Let's just put it that way. Like, it wasn't a far-fetched scenario for us to be like, yeah, he can do that. He's that good.
Oh, yeah. He hasn't forgot how to drive. Will Power hasn't forgot how to drive.
No, he hasn't. I just think, new team, where'd they test? They tested at Phoenix and they tested at Sebring. And that was it,
Yeah.
And it's only been a couple months. So he's figuring out where the corners are of that Andretti car. They're going to figure it out. I know they will. He's good, and it'll be at a rapid rate too that they figure it out, So no, I didn't blink an eye. I was disappointed as a fan of his.
Yeah, and as someone who predicted him to win the championship,
well, yeah,
I was like, dang.
And I'm rooting for him to be successful. I want this to work out, especially with the way everything kind of played out with him at Penske. I really want this to work out for him, but I didn't. I wasn't like, oh wow, I wasn't concerned. I was just like, yeah, well, that's going to happen.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely discussed St. Pete a lot, but we've got another race this weekend, so we're in Phoenix. We're going to give you a couple picks real quick for Phoenix. I want to get the right broadcast information. Guess what, folks? It's on Fox. We obviously know that. It's going to be fantastic. 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox, March 7th. Guess what, folks? That is a Saturday. Very difficult because we know that we usually watch racing on Sundays. That is a Saturday. But live on Fox, we all complained. Everyone almost nearly went to the IndyCar offices with pitchforks and torches last year because we had a month after the first race. Well, we all got our wishes. I didn't see anyone say thank you to IndyCar for sorting that out. Let's maybe send some positive messages out there on the internet every now and then. But this is fantastic that we get to go right into Phoenix, and NASCAR O'Reilly Series is there, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, the Cup Series. I think that's just fantastic for motorsport. So let's give some picks really quick, Bob. I'm going to go right out the gate. I'm going Newgarden. He's going to be on my podium. Have to have that. And I saw when I was doing my fantasy lineup, I'm obviously doing the IndyCar Fantasy Challenge driven by Firestone on the Grid Rival app there, which is honestly really fun. I wish I did that last year, even though I was racing. I feel like there's 3 people here that you can't ignore, and it's Joseph Newgarden. That's going to be on my podium. I think it's Pato O'Ward. I think Pato is going to be, again, an oval shark. I think he's going to be really good. And it has to be David Malukas. I think David Malukas has been showing up with Joseph Newgarden to these oval tests, being real good. He was fast in St. Pete. He really was. So I think that's my podium. And I know it's like, okay, those are heavy hitters, but it just feels like that is going to be. It feels like a high level team weekend. It feels like a Penske, like a McLaren, the big resources, big grip production teams. I think that's just what it's going to be.
Yeah, I was trying. I wasn't at the test, but I was trying to kind of look at like some statistics to kind of be in the ballpark on this pick. And I was looking, obviously, like comparing to the other miles we go to. Like, I know it's going to be hard with Phoenix having the dog leg. Like, it's a pretty different situation. I know you compared it to Gateway when we were talking about the test.
Yes.
I was also looking at Milwaukee just because it's flattish, So obviously, the last time IndyCar was at Phoenix, 2018, Joseph won. So I think that's a very safe bet. I'm also going with him just because his oval performance is always great. Even last year, a year that he struggled a lot, he still looked the strongest at the ovals. And I would say that, like, this, as someone that's predicting Joseph to be a factor in the championship, this is the ultimate test, okay? Like, if he doesn't do well here, not to put a lot of pressure on it, but it's like he might be looking at another season like last year, which we'd hate to see. Want to see him return to championship form. I know he's still in it, but yeah, so I expect Joseph to be there. I'm immediately getting back on the Will Power horse.
Okay.
Will had podiums at Phoenix twice. He is strong at Milwaukee. I feel like Will can come back here. This is going to be a strong bounce back. Plus, he has still trying to prove it with the new team. I think that X factor is always going to be there, And then I'm also going to go with Pato, just because strong at Milwaukee, strong at Gateway. I know he hasn't raced competitively at Phoenix yet, but Pato's, like, I think one of the best oval racers in the series. And I think if anybody's going to figure it out, it's probably going to be him. So Will, Joseph, Pato.
Great picks. And again, folks, I am, to give you a little bit of my schedule, if you want to interact with me or come chat, hang out, I'm definitely very officially going to be out there with Arco and AMPM this weekend. As I mentioned, follow the social channels because I'll put up some information about this appearance that I'm going to do with Ty Gibbs. I think by the time this comes out, I mean, you'll see why, but there's a lot more, there is going to be some more, AMPM and Arco branding on the JHR cars, of course, because this is, West Coast, AMPM, Arco, a lot of locations there. So Big weekend for AMPM and Arco. So I'm going to be out there doing a lot of stuff at the track, and Arlington as well. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to drive the 2-seater in Arlington because you know what? I'm desperate to work, and I would like to do something. I would like to check out the Arlington racetrack. So I'm going to be driving the 2-seater in Arlington. Barber, I'm probably not going to go yet. Barber, I'd like to, unless someone pays me to go to Barber, probably going to skip that one. But that's my schedule right now. We're going to definitely get through these first 3, and I'll be around. So doing some stuff with IndyCar. Appreciate IndyCar using me. There was, had another great video with Jessie Punch. She's very good at her job. We talked to Dennis Hauger and Scott McLaughlin on the IndyCar YouTube channel. If you want to check that out, that was a cool video to shoot with those guys. And yeah, I'll be out there. I'll be wearing my AMPM or Arco hat. I think I might be wearing an Arco hat actually, but I had to wear the AMPM hat today because again, we're out here repping. This is a great partner of NTT IndyCar Series Motor Racing because they're following us into the field of battle, and specifically with me, but with the race team that I was a part of last year and continue to be part of this year. So, and again, folks, stay tuned. Things will continue to evolve. Things will continue to, we are not done with announcements. We're not done yet. We still got things going on. We got business to do. This is not an easy game to get all sorted out. I can promise you that. But stay faithful and stay strong. So with that, I think we can probably get to our guest. We can probably get to Alex Palou. We've talked a lot about motor racing. We're going to get to the winner of the first race and usually most races, Alex Palou, and then we're going to get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week when we come back. So here's Alex Palou. Well, folks, you've seen this person a lot on this program. You've seen him a lot pretty much everywhere because all he does is win. He is extremely successful. He is racking up more wins than I'll have days on this earth. So it's incredible what he's done. The DHL wagon, a lot more yellow this year, a lot more yellow hats even for Alex Palou. How do you feel about your more yellow hats? Are you okay with that? More yellow?
It's very yellow, very yellow. Yes, it's very recognizable. I don't like because they become black after a weekend because of like all the dust from the brakes and the tires and everything. But it's you can see from afar, like it's easy to recognize where Alex is.
Yes, indeed. Alex, you made everyone think this weekend that, maybe there are some other cars with pace. You didn't qualify on pole. And I actually said earlier in the episode, I said, Alex made everyone think that they had it. And all he did that whole stint was not move a single muscle except for that right foot, pedaling the gas, saving fuel, and just being the smartest person under the sun. Was that your whole strategy the whole time? Make everyone think that they had it, and all you wanted to do was save enough fuel to make everyone just fall away into your mirror for the rest of the day?
It wasn't as easy or as straightforward of a strategy as it seems now. Like, it seems like it was all planned. I was on a different tire strategy than the cars we were fighting against, like McLaughlin, Ericsson. They were both on primaries, and I was on the brand new alternate. So I was thinking that it was going to be a 3-stop race. Honestly, that was the mindset that we had. The mindset was like, okay, we're going to go fast. Like, we're going to push, try and get a gap because we're starting up front. And then we're going to pit for primaries and we're just going to survive. And then again, use alternates at the end. But it turned into like McLaughlin and Ericsson just saving so much fuel. And everybody was so like bunched up that I couldn't really move. So I said, okay, let's try this 2-stop strategy, which was not good for the people in the Fast 6. Just so you know, the top 4, it was only actually the top 4. So it was McLaughlin, Ericsson, Hauger, and myself that used all the brand new alternates that we had, except the race one. But everybody else had 2 brand new sets of alternates. So we were on a deficit. So that's why I thought a 3-stop strategy was the best for us. So anyway, ended up saving a ton of fuel. I was taking care of my tires as well because I didn't know what the tires were going to do. So I just started taking care of them. And everything worked out. Like we were able to do the overcut and got the lead from there.
And how many more laps did you do? You did 2 more laps, is that right, than the other guys, or was it 3? Was it 2?
I think it was like, I might be wrong, but I think I did 3 more than McLaughlin, 2 more than Ericsson.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that happen, I left the track. I left. I literally, when I saw you come out with no pressure behind you, I was like, someone show me the lap chart, because those 2 or 3 laps must have been the best laps. But what I think people don't realize about this sport is, from Scott McLaughlin's position, right? He had to do what he had to do. He had to be out there. And again, on different tires, you're just trying to make that stint go as long as possible. You're trying to make sure, because realistically, sometimes you want to win as slow as possible, right? Like you're not going to push your stuff. You don't really, you don't have to build up a massive gap to the car behind you. As long as you're just ahead of them, that's what you have to do. And, Ericsson, he pitted on a different lap, so he tried to make it a little bit different. But I kind of explained earlier in the show that because you had those 2 setting the pace, it gave you the ability to use what you had and save those tires enough to push. And again, when the car is at its lightest, so those reds are going to be probably okay, especially if you've taken care of them. But what were you thinking when you had to go to the next set, right? Because you had to use 2 sets of the red tires. Were you thinking, hey, now that I'm in the lead, this might be a little bit more difficult? Or how did you play that out?
Yeah, so basically, like, I was taking care of my tires, but I didn't know in the first stint if they were going to last 35 laps or not. Like, I had no idea. I thought that maybe on lap 25, they just could fall off and then suddenly I would have to pit. So that's why I was not 100% confident. I was not like, oh yeah, we're going to overcut them and that's it. I was like, man, I hope these tires last. I know I have fuel, so fuel is not going to be an issue, but maybe the tires are. And I think if I would have been on the primaries, I would have had to pit on the same lap as them, probably. Like maybe one more, but it wouldn't have been such a huge difference because I would have had to push a lot more to stay with them. But then my thought process was like, okay, next run, I need to use a used set of alternates. Like it's the ones from qualifying, In qualifying, we don't take care of them. Like you brake hard, you go on the gas hard. And I knew it was going to be pretty tough to do like 32 laps on those. So I just tried to manage them a little bit. I saw that Ericsson was right with me. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a long stint because he was like pushing me. So I was like, okay, let's play that game. Let's try and push. And then I felt confident. I saw that he started struggling. And that gave me the ability to open a 6 or an 8-second gap that just made it easier for me to pit in a window, to like warm my primers up, to like just be confident and not have to be on the limit all the time.
Yeah, and we saw with Ericsson, he did push the tires too hard. Like he did really struggle on those reds, and that's what kind of created the separation, right? Like once he started struggling, he backed up everyone, and then you were able to get away. And it created a great race for us to watch. Like you were gone, but the rest of the racing between everyone else seemed to be quite good. So I want people to realize that, these races, there's like one moment that can really separate people. But once you have the ability to control it, and obviously you've got Barry Wanzer, you've got a lot of smart people in your ear. It looks easy, but it's not. Like you do have to be perfect at the right time. You do have to execute. You do have to take care of your tires when the perfect time is happening. So explain to people I had someone in my YouTube comments that said, how is it possible that no one has like these strategy plans? Like, is there no strategists out there that are like, you got plan A, B, or C? And again, I respect him for saying that, but you can't just predict these races. Like it's not easy to. So explain that to people, like how many options you might have But realistically, it still depends on how these tires last. It still depends on how much fuel you've got in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, like for people to understand, it only takes one lap to go a little bit wrong for all the strategies to fall off. Like,
exactly.
For example, if I don't build a huge gap when I stay out during the first stint, I'm in trouble with Marcus. I have to push my tires 100%. Like I'm taking life out of those tires. So by the end, on lap 25, I struggle. The difference there was that Marcus had to push because he had to fight with McLaughlin and Armstrong. So he was pushing. He was giving 100% on those used alternates, while I was still on my first set of alternates, still haven't pitted. And then when I pitted into a gap. I warmed them up slowly. And once Ericsson was behind me, my tires were still, let's say, at 90%. His were probably at like 80%. And not because he was driving bad or the strategy was wrong, just because he had to fight with people. And I just had that gap that allowed me to be fine. And then, like, same with the second stint. Like, if Marcus wasn't second, if it was McLaughlin, maybe he would have just been with me. He would have pushed me and I would have overpushed my tires and had to pit earlier. Like who knows? Like it just takes one lap or one person or one overtake or just like one slow stop for all the strategy to fall off. The thing is that I had one of these races, and it's crazy that it's the first one, that everything was perfect. Like my start was great. Then I managed my tires, I managed my fuel. We put it into a gap, clean air, and that's it. And everybody was having small issues, let's say, small mistakes that just made that big of a difference. But on pure pace, there was not that much difference. Like if you look at the end result, you're like, oh yeah, that was crazy. But I was not even the fastest car out there. Like, I don't have the fastest lap.
That's a good point. Yeah, I know, that's fair. It is funny. There are people, like you mentioned before we started, there are people now angry at you for being so good and for winning so many races. And I have some fan questions for you eventually, too, from the fine folks that love IndyCar racing. But what we're seeing is obviously unique. Like, we haven't seen this type of domination, and it is wild. We saw this from Michael Schumacher when I was growing up, right? Like, I'm a little older than you, but Michael Schumacher won everything all the time for so many years, right? And now it's crazy that Mick is now an IndyCar. But when you have such a passion for your job and doing, you worked your whole life to make a living as a professional race car driver, right? Like, you get to keep the lights on at the house because you get to drive in race cars really well. You know what I mean? When you show up and you go weekend by weekend and you've got the people around you that support you and that know that those guys are going to give everything that they've got so that you can do your job, and you're going to give everything you got to do your job for those guys and girls. I mean, it has to be an amazing feeling to show up every weekend knowing that if you guys just do your jobs, that you have a very high chance of winning every single weekend.
I don't know about winning every single weekend, but we have a very high chance of having a great weekend. And that might be sometimes a top 10, that might be a top 3, that might be a win, that might be whatever. But I know I'm so lucky, man. Like, it's so hard. And for a driver or an athlete to have everything at the perfect time, like your mind, your like, I don't know, your confidence as well on yourself and the team, the crew on the pit stops, the strategy, like the car itself, like the car needs to be fast. If the car is not fast, I can do as much work as I want. I can be the best that has ever been, but I won't be able to move, or I won't be able to save tires or fuel or blah, blah, blah. So I'm only able, I'm only able to do what I do or to look this good because I have a great team around me, and I'm lucky. I know I've always thought about all these drivers that have so much success, or all these athletes, and be like, come on, that would be so good. And it's amazing. It just feels insane. I know I'm very lucky. I am enjoying as much as I can because I know at some point it's going to end. At some point it's just going to end and it'll be back to normal. But I'm enjoying until while it's lasting, let's say. So Yeah.
Was there any surprises over this weekend? Was it Will Power maybe struggling as much as he did?
Coin.
Like, kind of that was very surprising for me. I mean, was there anything other than that you saw that just made you go, "Hey, whoa, this is a different start to the year than I expected"?
I mean, Coin, 2 cars in the Fast Six. Hauger on a rookie year, like I know how tough it is. You know how tough it is. Like you can be. I think everybody's super quick. Like people from IndyNext, from F3, from F2, like everybody's quick. There's a point where everybody's able to be quick, but to put it all together in Q1, Fast 12, Fast 6, almost got the pole. Coin, like they just did a jump on performance. It's clear because 2 drivers in the Fast 6 is very impressive, and then 2 cars in the top 10 as well, I think, or top 12. It's big. Like, you know how tough it is, even for us at CTR. Like I barely got in, and then I couldn't really fight for pole. I didn't really have the speed that we needed. I think Power, he had a terrible weekend at the start. Like that compromises so much. It was unfortunate. I understand why he went out so early in practice too. He was saying that he was not comfortable with a car. And if you're in a new team, new car, for people to understand, he's been in Penske for how long?
A long time.
A long time, 10 years.
And
12.
I'm glad you're saying this because I had a whole segment about how it's amazing how different these teams are and cars can be in a series that people are like, well, everything's the same. It's like, oh, hang on a second.
Yeah, it is the same because we don't develop the car, but the setup is different. The brake pumps are different. The steering wheel is different. Maybe the pedal, even the pedal is different. Like, probably the pedal or... Like I just saw interviews. I didn't speak to him. Like I'm just talking for whatever I heard or read. But he was saying that he was struggling with the brakes, and it could be as silly as the brake pedal being different, and then you're struggling. So that's why he had to go out. It's not that he's crazy or the team is rookie. It's just that he needed laps and he needed lap time, and then you crash, and then you're already like 2 steps behind. And yeah, unfortunate. He's gonna be quick. Like, yeah, at Phoenix he was I think top 3. Like he's gonna be all right. But yeah, he started struggling. What else? I don't know. I think McLaughlin just being the king of qualifying at St. Pete, he's got 3 or 4 poles.
A lot.
Yeah, he's strong. I don't know what else. What else did you see?
Oh, well, just a few accidents here and there, a few little comings togethers of folks, some car contacts, some penalties, some not penalties. The Marcus Armstrong thing, a little bit of blocking down the front straight. I don't know how you feel about that, but it was like, whoa, Marcus Armstrong, sort of teammate, thought there was maybe a penalty there. I don't know. What do you think?
Teammate? No teammate. Not anymore. Yeah.
Sorry, a loose teammate.
Yeah. I saw that. I didn't analyze it, but I saw that it was bad for Armstrong because he just got into the how you say
marbles.
The marbles, and then he couldn't brake, he couldn't steer, he lost like 3 places, and then kind of his race was over. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
So what do we think about Phoenix? I mean, obviously, an oval now before the Indianapolis 500 is different to certainly what you've been used to over your time of success recently. I think it's really cool. I think this weekend is going to be a lot of fun with NASCAR. I think it's a very cool combination. I think having the trucks in St. Pete was awesome. That was a cool thing to have on a Saturday. But, I mean, is this going to be another dominant Alex Palou weekend? A lot of, you've said yourself, short ovals probably what you need to work on. However, you already won on them, and it's, you were very, very strong. You've been on pole on short ovals. So what do you think about this one? After the test there, is the tire going to give us a good race? Like some people are saying some drivers that I talked to said maybe it will be a good race with some deg. What do you think?
I was very surprised at the test. Like I was genuinely surprised about how the car was feeling and how the car was feeling on the long run. I think we're going to struggle with the tires, which is a good thing. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's the opposite. It's good because that just makes some cars to push on exits, some cars to be loose. And then that just creates the different strategies, just different tire mileage on people and a lot of overtakes. So I think and I hope that the race is gonna be cool. So I'm excited for that. I struggled myself personally in the test. Like maybe if you look at the speed chart, it's not too bad. But I think it's easier to do a one lap than to do 65 laps 10. That's when it gets real, when it gets tough, when you need to go in the second lane and overtake people. So we did a lot of work during practice to try and get our race car ready. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great show. I'm excited to share it with NASCAR. I feel like it can be a good opportunity for us. We've done it previously in May. I don't know if it was May or August, but I didn't feel like
August.
It was. August. It was not.
Are you talking at Indy with the road course
weekend?
At
Indy.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that was very good for us or for them. I think we were very separated. I feel like this time is going to be a lot more unified and hopefully better for us and for fans. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be tough for me for the 10 car, but it's going to be a good weekend.
Good. I hope to God it is, honestly. No offense to you, but man, we need to
Thank you, Connor.
Need to see some action. What I think is so impressive about this run is, I get to interact with you, I think, a lot more than most other drivers. And you're still just like, hey, you know what? We're going out there and we're doing it. Like it hasn't changed you as a person, which I think is really cool. You're just showing up. You're like, hey, you know what? I just love racing, and we're getting after, which I think is really special. And so I hope the fans, let's not hate Alex Palou for being the best. Let's just let him live a little bit. I want to know this race specifically with our oval qualifying. When we go to the ovals, it's off a championship order, right? So you see, okay, all the good cars are towards the end, but now you got guys like Dixon going out third, and it could actually spice up the weekend because some people had difficult weekends. You had Christian Rasmussen, who is going to be really fast probably this weekend. He's going out probably fourth or fifth for qualifying. You think that's going to have an effect on the race at all because it might shuffle the grid?
For sure. I mean, it makes a big difference. I feel like the track improves a little bit, and especially if we're sharing it with NASCAR, like other tires, I think it's just going to make an impact. And we'll have power as well going out quite early on a car that he was really fast. We'll have some rookies at the end. Like I feel it's gonna be good. I'm glad that I'm starting last, that I'm doing qualifying last, so I can get a read. I can see the speed. I mean, it's a lot easier when you see that everybody's doing 1 mile an hour like faster than practice, because it's just going to be better. Or if you see that everybody's 1 mile an hour slower, you prepare yourself. So I think that's going to make for sure not only qualifying but the race interesting as well, because if they qualify bad, or some people qualify bad, they'll have to move up front during the race. So it's going to be a great weekend. I have no doubt.
I agree. I have some fans that wanted to ask you some questions that I posed on the internet. All right. And this is actually a good one, which I've mentioned before, and I think I've asked you about this before. This is from Ryan_OG. Why do you never have a Fox onboard camera? Why are we not getting the Alex Palou onboard camera? What's going on here? Are we getting one this weekend?
I don't know. I
want to see the hands. I want to see what's going on.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with that, obviously, just because I think it makes people even more nervous than just seeing it. If you can see it, you can just say, oh, I cannot see anything, or I can see whatever, he's braking late or early or whatever. But if you cannot see it, it just kind of scares you a little bit more. So I have no idea. I don't know how this thing works.
They do cost money. They do cost money.
I don't know who has to put it. I don't. Anyway, I was glad that I had it for the 500 though. Like I had it there, and hopefully we have it there again this year. So I like having onboards. I feel it's cool. I love it. I think that people can see the action. You have some overtakes that people can see that you're like, yeah, I'm proud of that.
Darn right.
Yeah. But there's sometimes like this weekend where people don't see and I feel proud of like an overtake or a lap. And I'm like, well, nobody can see it. So I'll just keep it for myself.
I love it. Okay, we got another. This is a good one too from Sean Phelps. What's left on your list of goals now that you've won championships, the Indy 500? What is you're still young, but what's left on the list? What is something you really want to get on your trophy board?
Man, I don't, I've never been a person that had like goals of like, you know what, I need to accomplish A, B, and C. I've always been a person that just wanted to, a person that just wanted to be a race car driver for a living. That was my goal that for sure I wanted to achieve no matter what. Once I accomplished that and I got to IndyCar, that's it. That was my goals. That was fulfilled. And for me, when I win one championship, it means the world to me. And I don't think that it's going to change much if I get 5 or 4, or if I got 3, or if I get 10. Like, it's not going to change. Like, yeah, I prefer 10 or 8 or 6, but I feel it's more of like how I feel every day when I wake up. I'm like getting excited to work out, to like improve myself, to go out and try and improve the car or my driving. Like, that's what truly motivates me. Those are my goals. That's what makes me be who I am.
Hey, we've been getting faster at running. We've been getting there.
Yes, those are some goals. Yeah, of course. Those are some goals that I have that it's like more physical goals, but like I don't have racing goals. That doesn't mean I don't want to achieve stuff. It's the opposite. It's like, man, whatever comes, I'll hope I'm ready for it and I'm preparing for it. But there's some races that I want to do at some point in my life, like Daytona. I want to win Daytona. Le Mans, I want to win Le Mans.
Love that.
I want to go Bathurst and try it one day, like just to see how it feels.
Love that.
Like, there's
and
some
no
races.
mention of Formula One too. I love that. Love that.
Yeah, I mean that's past.
Yeah.
That's past. That's over.
I love it. Okay, this is actually, I got a couple other good ones here. Actually, Court_SOB actually asked 2 great questions. What's something fans don't realize about driving an Indy car at full pace, like at maximum attack?
I would say that although we're in control of the car, that car is trying to kill us. Like, you go at St. Pete.
Great answer. I agree.
You are in St. Pete and you go for qualifying, brand new alternates. You're warming up. You feel great. But once you start pushing it to the limit, the car doesn't want to do what you want. Like, it just wants to go the other way. So you're fighting constantly, and without power steering and with how heavy the car is, it gets you exhausted. Like, you finish a qualifying lap and you're like, like it's tough. So I feel like when you look on TV or onboards, you feel like the steering doesn't move much, but man, it's just bouncing so much and it's so heavy. So I would say that people don't realize it yet.
And then also the second part, who's the most underrated driver in the IndyCar paddock? Most underrated right now.
That's tough thing to answer, man. I don't know. I feel like there's some people that don't rate Ericsson, for example, very good, and I don't understand that. I had it as a teammate. He was excellent. He won the 500, and I'm glad that he did it. I feel like Armstrong as well is one of those people that people just don't realize how good, fast, and great driver is. There's a lot of people that is underrated. But yeah, those would be my 2 picks. Also because I've been able to see the data. Like, I cannot really say someone that's not been my teammate.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you one more because we're taking up a lot of your time. This is from BA Fuller 54. How much did your time in Japan in Super Formula help you prepare for when you went to IndyCar?
I think it was huge. First of all, we also had refueling. So although I didn't understand much of like fuel saving and how to do that and all that stuff, we had refueling. So that kind of made just the strategies and my mindset to go with it. We had 2 different sets of tires as well. So we had the softs and the hards, so that as well.
Similar to IndyCar, yeah.
Yeah, it was very similar. And then the level there, just because there's 5 tracks that you go to, and you race twice at Suzuka, 6 tracks, sorry, and you race twice at Suzuka. The drivers that are there for more than 5-6 years, they know every single bump of those tracks. It's insane. It's incredible. So when they go out in practice lap one, they're bang on that lap time. And that was something that was pushing me a lot to just prepare and to try and be aggressive from the get-go. But yeah, I would say those are some stuff that prepare me for IndyCar. It's a great.
I love it. Well, now we got to let producer Bobby get in here too, because he's got a great brain for this motorsport thing, and we got to let him ask one too.
Do it.
Alex, there's a book. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I have not read it. No. A lot of us had to read it in grade school to kind of like prepare us for adult life. And I know there's probably a lot of things that you do on a daily basis, but I'm wondering if you could give us one habit of a highly effective Alex Palou.
One habit. I would say waking up early. That's one habit.
That's because you have a kid, bro.
I used to do that before. Yeah. I mean, I've been training with Scott at the same time since late 2020. So
that is early.
That is early. Like it's, I would say waking up early and reading.
There you go.
Which sounds like I need to read that book.
No, I just got given a book over the weekend as well, and so now I'm going to have to do some reading. I think those are probably 2 things that, again, people are like, of course, sleep or get up early and read. Of course, this guy's educated. He's disciplined. It all makes sense. Well, Alex, I appreciate you being here. I will let you know, though, that this is the last time we will talk to you this year. We're not going to, even if you win the 500 again, which I will try to prevent happening if I somehow end up there in a job, but I will definitely, well, maybe we'll talk to you again. I don't know. We'll see. But
okay, that's sad. It's sad to hear that, but it's okay. Okay, so I won't talk to you at the gym as well. When I see you in the mornings, I might just turn the face into you, and I won't look at you.
This is not anything against you personally. This is
no, same. It won't be against you. It'll be against the podcast. Yeah. Don't worry.
Okay, against the podcast. Got it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know it's not you.
If you win 8 races in a row, we will talk to you.
In a row?
8 in a row, yeah. If you win 8 in a row, we will interview you again after that.
I wish. Well, that's good.
Well, thank you so much. We're all going to be watching Phoenix this weekend. It's going to be a fantastic event, and we'll see you there.
Perfect. Sounds good. See you guys. Thank you.
As always, we appreciate Alex Palou. Great interview for him, honestly, and thanks to some of the fans who asked some questions. We can't get through all of them because most of them were the same thing. Why does he keep winning? How does he keep doing this? Can you tell him to stop winning? So we appreciate those folks who got in there. Before we get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week, fun story for fellow sports fans and podcast listeners. Last week, the NFL Combine was in Indianapolis, and I went out with my buddy Deepu, just have some dinner downtown, maybe see if we could. We're NFL fans. I love football. Love the Colts, and we had an opportunity to sit down. Prime 47, one of our favorite restaurants, Prime 47, downtown Indianapolis, and I listened to the Pardon My Take podcast. For those, it's a Barstool Sports podcast. I think it's the biggest sports podcast in the world. Love listening to that show. I think those guys are hilarious, and I'm a big fan of them. So I saw PFT walk in, and if you don't know who PFT is, he's obviously one of the hosts of that show. And PFT was kind of just chilling by himself at the bar, looking around for some folks that he knew. And after a while, I said, you know what? I'm just going to go up to the guy and be like, hey, I'm a fan. If you want to sit with us, it was me and Deepu. We had a table of 4. And I go up to PFT and I was like, hey, man, if you want to sit with us, like, feel free. come hang. We're just gonna have some food. We're gonna have some cocktails maybe. And sure enough, PFT came to sit down, and we had a great night. And the episode that dropped on Friday of last week, within like the first 5 minutes, they called me the official IndyCar driver of the PMT podcast. Pardon my take. So I'm very proud of that. I think that was an awesome title to have. Hang the banner. And really respect PFT for just being cool, hanging out. Diana Rossini as well from The Athletic, big-time NFL reporter. She came to sit down with us as well, had a fantastic time. Two very kind people and very fantastic humans who learned a lot about IndyCar racing as well that night. So now, who knows? It's still my dream to be on the Pardon My Take podcast at some point. Maybe that'll happen. Sounded like we have a chance of maybe doing that at some point, which would be awesome. But shout out to those two fine folks, incredible people. Love when the NFL combine's in town. So just wanted to tell that story really quick. Thought it was, you just go up and say hi to people. Just go up and talk to them. You know what? I just be friendly. And all I tried to do was just be a friend. And we all had a couple, 2 hours, 3 hours of just talking about ball, talking about motorsport, talking about racing. And it was a lot of fun. So I thought that was a very, very cool thing to get to do. So anyway, just wanted to tell that story real quick and say thank you to those guys. All right. Well, let's get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. Who'll make up the field?
All right, this week, we went all the way back into the history books, very deep into the history. We went back to 1914, which is always fascinating to learn about the folks that are in this race. The 14th place finisher is going to make me sound funny because I'm probably not pronouncing this right, but George Boileau, maybe French guy. It looks like Georges Boilet is what we're going to say. Georges Boilet. Georges Louis Frederick Boileau. We'll go with that. Yeah, Boileau. It's even the French pronunciation on Wikipedia says that. That's cool. French racing driver. World War I fighter pilot. That's kind of awesome. That's wild. He died age 31 after his plane was shot down by German fighters. So wow, a war hero, war veteran. That's crazy. So this time in life was probably just absurd. Like I can't even imagine being alive in the early 1900s. One start. So old George had one Indianapolis 500 start, 1914, qualified on the pole. Pole qualifier. Really, really cool. Almost 100 miles an hour. Almost at 100 miles an hour. And finished 14th. So one-time pole sitter, one-time racer, and quite a story about this guy. Anything else exciting you think, Bob?
Well, he was interesting. He was a two-time French Grand Prix winner before he came to Indianapolis. And there was very early in the Indianapolis 500, like I would, dating back to the year before we're talking about, so 1913, there was kind of like a French invasion where a lot of French drivers came over, and obviously Jules Go won in 1913. Yes. So George was a part of that French invasion. He came over obviously the next year, but they were, from the get-go very successful at Indianapolis.
That's wild. Man, crazy that he was a fighter pilot too. That guy was just doing it all. Race car driver, fighter pilot, man. That's crazy. Now we're talking about him in 2026. Can you imagine? All right. Well, you know what to do, folks. We're probably going to get the ratings as soon as this show wraps up. This will be the normal show time. It's going to go out on a nice Wednesday morning. We're going to get it out there to folks so you can get all jacked up for the Phoenix race this weekend. We're going to go right into Arlington the weekend after, which is going to be a lot of fun. So appreciate you folks listening. Please like the video. Like the podcast, leave it reviews, whatever you want to do. Just be a friend and tell a friend, and we'll see you next week on Speed Street. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.